Hi everyone, it's KK here. How are you? So today I really need to replenish some of my colorants that I use for my soaps, my natural colorants that I just use herbs in order to create different colors of my soaps. I usually make them in batches at a time, and I make them super concentrated, and basically I can just control what shade of color I get based on how much I use in a soap formula. I'm using a base oil of sunflower oil. I use either sunflower or extra virgin olive oil. I used to use jojoba oil, but with the price of jojoba right now and the shortage, it's just financially unrealistic. So I'm gonna go with sunflower, which is a light, very softly golden colored oil, and it's more reasonably priced. The first one I'm gonna be creating is using Annatto. My family comes from Panama, Central America, so Annatto, which in Spanish we call achiote, is a very common herb that's used for cooking, and they're like these little seeds, and I don't know if you can see that in here, so I'm going to pour some out in my hand so you can see them. They're like these little red seeds, and they are excellent. They used to color not only soaps, but they're also used in the fabric industry to color cottons and wools. Now the great thing about Annatto is that Annatto can be used for shades of yellow to orange. So if I want to do a yellow, I'm just going to use much less in a batch. If I want to do an orange, I can use a little bit more, but I'm again making a super concentrated colorant. So I'm going to, let's see if I could do this. There we are. I'm using a super concentrated amount, so I'm taking, I do everything by weight. Look, my hands are getting yellow. I do everything by weight. So what I'm doing is I'm using 1 ounce of Annatto per 16 ounces of sunflower oil, and then I'm gonna hot process them in a water bath canner, just like you make jellies and can your vegetables and fruit and that sort of thing. So I'm taking 1 ounce of the Annatto seeds, and I'm gonna add to that 16 ounces of sunflower oil. Gonna leave a little room to shake and agitate them. Now some people will let it just sit in the sun for a few weeks in order to get all of the color out. I personally prefer to hot process it so that it's ready for me to use within hours. So I'm not gonna shake it hard, but I am going to turn it a bit because I want to get all of the seeds coated and floating around. And then I'm going to just put this one off to the side while I get the next item ready. Next up, I'm going to be using Paprika to get my deep, deep, deep oranges. So you don't have to use a super expensive paprika. You really don't. I know some people, you know, there's different types of paprika. I'm just using a inexpensive Spanish paprika. There we are. Usually it's easier to snap the tip of the cup, and that gives me a little more control. And I'm just going to take a plastic knife to pick up this that I've spilled all over the place. Have to forgive me, my hands are a little shaky because I have not eaten anything, which is really bad of me, but I had a lot of work to get done. There we go. Great. So again, this is about 1.5 ounces of paprika, which is going to give me a really, really deep, dark orange color to use. And depending on how much of it I use actually in the formula, I can also get a nice, soft, muted red from it. It's that great. So again, I'm going to pour 16 ounces of sunflower oil. And again, I'm not going to shake, but I am going to gently turn it upside down. Try and make sure I get all of the paprika into the oil. Now after I hot process this, I have two options. If I want the speckled look of the actual herb in my soap, I'll shake it up and then add it. However, when you hot process, as with anything, even if you cold process it, after so long, the particles settle to the bottom and you can just pour from off the top to get just the oil. Another thing I also use is a French press. I pour my oils into a French press and then press them when I want to get all the particles out and I don't want to add any speckles to the soap. Although it's a good look, but sometimes you just may not want that look in particular. So you can see here, the annatto is already getting the oil a really rich, deep golden color, which is what I want. I want it to get as dark as possible so that I control my shades by how much of the actual oil that I use. Okay, so next up, I go through a lot of paper cups when I do this. When I do it this way, because we want to use a different cup each time. But next up, I'm going to do my purple color, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, using Alkanet Root for a really gorgeous, earthy sort of a purple. It's not a bright, bright purple. It's a very muted, very earthy, deep purpley plum, depending on how much of it you use, of course. So again, I'm going to use about an ounce of my Alkanet Root. I'm just going to put on the scale. Of the Alkanet Root to give me a nice shade of purple. Okay. So actually, I'm going to go a little more intense. This is actually 1 1/2 ounces of Alkanet Root that I'm going to put in there. So here we have Alkanet Root, which looks almost brown. Or like a deep wine maroon, brown base maroon. So I've put in 1 1/2 ounces in this bottle. And you can see the color change is almost instant. This is one of my favorites because I love a muted purple color. All those, I don't know if you can see the bubbles going up, but that's all of the herb getting the oil soaking into it. So I'm just gonna turn it upside down for a bit to let the herbs soak into the oil and to get that oil all the way to the bottom of the bottle. Although after 2 hours, because I'm going to process this in a water bath for about 2 hours over a medium heat, it's going to get all incorporated in there during that time. So there's our beautiful deep purple. That's gonna be an absolutely gorgeous purple. And Alkanet Root is so strong that it only takes, let's see, for like a 3-pound batch of soap, I'm gonna say you only are gonna need like maybe 2 tablespoons of the mixed color, Alkanet Root color. It doesn't take very much. It lasts, this bottle will last me through quite a few batches of soap, depending on how much I'm making and how much purple I'm using and how dark of a purple I want. But see, it's gotten all the way to the bottom there. So it's definitely gonna be a nice color. And our Alkanet Root is already a beautiful deep golden orange. I don't know if you can see that good. So now here's another one of my favorites. This is safflower. And safflower makes a beautiful golden yellow. And because it's a bigger flower, even though I broke it down a bit, I'm using a canning jar, which I use a lot of canning jars because I also make my own jellies and pickles and things like that. But also for my colorants, when they're my infusions, colorants, when they're big like that, I'll use a canning jar. Gonna need some more oil. Now my oil that I'm using, I pre-warmed it very gently, only to about 75 degrees. But I'm gonna get much more color when I process it in the water bath. So I want to fill this up with oil. About there. Safflower is a much fluffier material, so this is only about 1/2 ounce of safflower oil. It also smells really good. These are herbs that I also, not only do I use in my soaps for colorants, but I also use for cooking and teas and other things like that. So if ever you're in a pinch maybe and you don't have like a yellow, you can just go, if you have safflower or alkanet or any of these herbs, you can just go in the kitchen and grab some of those. Now this one, unlike last time, which I forgot to get my funnel. So I'm going to use my funnel and pour this time. This is actually turmeric. And turmeric makes a really nice mustardy shade of yellow. And turmeric is also really good for stimulating circulation in the skin. Okay, so here are our finished colors. This is the Annatto, a nice deep dark red orange. This is the Paprika, a beautiful medium orange. This is the Tumeric, beautiful yellow. And this is the Alkanet Root, that deep, dark, rich, earthy purple. So now I'm going to use these in the soap.